I'm here from the Common Sense Network, which is an organisation that tries to make democracy more healthy by creating spaces for people who disagree to have fruitful dialogue. Here today I have Tessy Ojo with me, and she is the Chief Executive Officer of the Diana Award. Hi Tessy, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Hi, it's lovely to be here as well.
Yes, so this week is a very monumental week, with it being what would have been the 60th birthday of Princess Diana. I can imagine it would be a very busy week for you and the Diana Award. Please, can you let us know what the Diana Award is, and maybe give us a kind of rough idea of what this week has been and the kind of events that have taken place?
Sure. So yeah, you're right, because this week is quite a huge week every year in the diary, because 1st of July is the late princess's birthday, and this year is a landmark year because she would have been 60, but she's still here with us. It's a bit sad to think about it, that she would have only been 60 and she's been gone for 24 years. But then in her short life, she packed in so much. So on one hand, I think it's a celebration of all the things that she did in her short life, but also it's quite a sad time thinking that actually she was still a mom that left her sons at such a young age. And then, so that brings me to the Diana Award. We were set up, as a charity legacy to her. Our work really revolves around continuing her legacy of compassion, of empathy, and of selfless service to others. That's, for us, that's her core values, and we work hard to instill those values in young people who mostly were not here while she was. But for us, Princess Diana fundamentally believed that young people with the right support have the power to change the world, but they need the right support. So our mission is about helping young people occupy the space that they need to be, because they have the power to change the world, but we know that they need the support to do that effectively. So we create that support, we help support them in 3 key ways. Firstly, by unlocking potential, helping young people know that they have the potential. And for some young people, it's simply about telling them, but for others, it's about building their capacity to help unlock that potential. Secondly, is by creating opportunities. Like, young people, when somehow there's something about society that assumes that you grow up one day and you become an adult and then immediately you become a leader. But actually, you do need the opportunities to practice those leadership skills, to occupy spaces. And the Diana Award facilitates that. We create spaces, both within our organization, but also championing for organizations to create spaces. And the third bit is inspiring positive action. And we do that by shining a spotlight, by looking for young people who have occupied that space, who have found a need in their society or in their community and have made that a difference. We spotlight them because we know that by shining a spotlight on one young person, you inspire the young people around them, because other young people will go, well, if Tessy could do that, and she's my age, she's like me, she lives in my community, she's just an ordinary person who's doing this extraordinary thing, I too can do that. So that sums up what we do at the Diana Award. And yes, you asked about how this week has been. This week has been very busy, and I cannot wait to lie in the darkened room this weekend and just rest. But it's really exciting. We started off this week by welcoming 300 young change makers, young global change makers from across the world as Diana Award recipients. I am in awe of young people who see a challenge in their community and stand up to make a difference. This year, or this last 18 months, has been particularly challenging for everyone, but young people in particular, right? Because young people are not the face of the pandemic when it comes to mortality. And so it's so easy to forget that young people have been impacted. Interesting. On the other hand, what we often hear in the media is how young people are the spreaders. But what we've seen, what we did this week was actually showcase 300 amazing young people from across the world who saw a need in their community and rose up. And to me, that's absolutely, I'm just so in awe of these young people who just make a difference. It's, yeah.
Yes, like I think for the most part, that is what really, for me, separates the Diana Award from a lot of the other things that I have seen, because I'm actually familiar with some of the award recipients, being Vika Tivu and Elsie Cullen. And Elsie especially, she is responsible for helping with a lot of intensive care aid during the COVID pandemic. She's a young nurse who also created other resources. So I think that the work that you're highlighting is so important. And alongside that, the kind of diversity in your recipients is something I think is really an asset to your organization, especially as a royal organization, and kind of as part of that royal legacy, because the diversity in the other kind of royal organizations isn't normally as diverse as we would like, but yours organization has really showcased, and obviously with you at the face, really encourage people of color to be a part of the legacy of Princess Diana.
Absolutely. And, you know, when I look at, for example, when I look at the statue, so no one knew what the statue would look like. When I saw it, though, the first thing I know so much. I talk about Princess Diana and her ability to connect with people, how she intentionally reached out to people who were kind of on the outside of society.
Definitely.
Everything she did in her time was often going into communities that were not mainstream. And so it's not even rocket science that a legacy to her has to be completely inclusive of everyone. So when I saw the statue unveiling yesterday, I realized that, oh no, it confirmed to me that actually this is exactly what she'll be doing. If she was here right now, this is exactly, because what that statue showed is a princess with 3 young people, children of no fixed nationality. And that's Diana's legacy. That's what endeared her to the hearts of people. So when it comes to continuing her legacy, we will be doing her an injustice if we weren't an organization that was completely inclusive.
Yes, I think that is really right, because I think a lot of the key images and memories we have of Diana is her embracing people, whether it be with HIV, AIDS, or at landmines all across the world, and in a way that we hadn't seen from other members of the royal family. And like, do you think maybe that's a part of what separates her from the legacy of other royal institutions and figures, or do you think they are also starting to appreciate that we need to be able to embrace people from all different backgrounds?
I think Diana was in some way, she set the tone. Wealth, but I think what she was able to demonstrate was her ability to connect. It's the connection. It's that, how do you connect with someone? How do you show people that they matter, that irrespective of who they were as important and they also deserved your attention. When you saw Diana in her time show up for communities, she properly showed up. She didn't simply stand by. She
Take it
didn't
as an
walk past.
opportunity.
She
Yeah.
literally went there and she sat with them, whether that was landmines or HIV or visiting people in hospital who were ill. She went there. For me, I think that but there were not a lot of figures like her at that time who did had. So when I say we, I mean society had different norms. So she rewrote some of those norms by actually showing us, demonstrating to us what it meant to be a humanitarian. And in some, so I often say she redefined it for me, for a lot of people, because suddenly you knew that if you want to properly connect, this is how to do it. It was kind of a rewriting of the manuscript, right?
Yeah, and I think she really has redefined humanitarianism, as you said, and I think you see the reflection of that in both William and Harry. And although in the press we kind of see a lot of things about how they might not get along and whatever feuds or rifts are reported on a daily basis, I think just as they were standing at the statue and unveiling it yesterday, your organization is really testament to how they can work together and really support really positive initiatives. So can you speak to how they have supported the Diana Awards over the past couple of years? And I know Harry did a speech just a couple of days ago. So
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're absolutely right there. I think forget whatever you're reading out there. It's, I've had the privilege of working alongside both the Duke of Sussex and Cambridge, and I know, again, like their mother, how deeply passionate they are about the causes that they choose to back. And I know that they intentionally, again, would choose things that they know they would go the whole mile. I remember at the very early start of my journey with them, I was very clearly told, like, we're never going to be poster people. Like, do not use us do not expect us to just come along and be a poster person. If we connect with something, we literally go all the way. And that was refreshing for me to know, because I know what it means to me. I want to be, or I hope I am a meaningful leader, a leader that's authentic and that cares about anything that anything that we as a charity we curate a program. It's because I care deeply about that, and we care deeply about that. So, like I said, it's such an honor to work with both of them. Prince Harry has always been hugely supportive of our mentoring program. He's someone that's been really connected with leveling the playing field for every young person, understanding really that sadly for some young people, where you're born into, where you live determines your future, which is ridiculous. But we know that through mentoring we can level up that playing field. We can do something to back it. Interestingly, today, exactly 2 years ago, he was given, thanks to Facebook and Facebook memory, I had on my memory pop up about exactly 2 years ago, he came to our mentoring summit, which was in London. And he had actually just become a father then, and talked about, actually, you suddenly realize that for young people or for children, they need people that would help mold and shape their lives if we want them to achieve great outcomes. The Duke of Cambridge, Prince William, but again, has often talked about understanding the impact that bullying has on the lives of young people. He's only last November, he met with a number of our young people who had experienced bullying, some of them leading to severe mental health issues. And he's very empathetic about that, understands. I mean, you can see the work that himself and his brother did a few years ago around Heads Together, really championing and breaking the silence that's often associated with mental health. So it's great to have both of them. This, like you rightly said as well, this week we had Prince Harry welcoming our 300 new young change makers. I loved one of the things he said. He said that they put the do's in the say, which is such a cool thing to say, right?
Yeah, and I think also from that speech, what I really appreciated is that obviously, as diverse as it was, he said that the whole group as a collective was a personification of his mother's legacy. And I think it's just so amazing to see that they like widely recognize the impact of the vast range of people, like you said, from various different backgrounds, and how they have really impacted in their small or large communities. And I think in regards to the work that you guys are doing, like you mentioned, the initiatives around bullying and the mentorship initiatives, how can people kind of get to be a part of the work that you're doing? Or if any young people are interested in the for example, having a mentor, or kind of want to engage with any anti-bullying work that you guys are doing, how would they be able to do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that we have a huge waiting list. So I'm just going to manage expectation a little bit. I would love not to have a waiting list, but the best way to do it is really to go to our website, and there's always a contact info to fill out one of the forms. You know, one of the things that we are so aware that even with the pandemic and also the highlighted inequalities as a result of the killing of George Floyd, that's really shown how much we need to level up or build back better. And we need, so many people need the support. So one of the things we try to do is to intervene early, like start with the younger, when I use at least early secondary. If we can get it right there, then it means that we improve the life chances of a young person and improve their ability to make the right choices in life. Because ultimately it's about choice. It's about having the clarity to say, look, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to pursue it. Sometimes you don't know yourself, but when you have a mentor in your life, it helps you navigate those huge decisions that sometimes you don't know, or maybe even your parents don't know. And so that's kind of, so the bulk of our work, really what happens in the school, really trying to do an early intervention piece. Having said that, we do run a lot of holiday webinars, career webinars and stuff like that. And that's so easy if we to get on. So I would really advise anyone who's interested. The webinars are always oversubscribed. In the holiday, we do like short 1 week kind of work experience like events as well. So literally go onto our website and sign up. There, all of the pages, the mentoring pages there, the anti-bullying pages there. You don't even have to choose to do any of that. You can just say, I'm just interested in the career webinars, and again, just sign up for those.
Yeah.
Or just find me and I can help navigate them.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I've been on your site, and I think for the most part it's really easy to navigate and see what you guys have on offer. So I'd encourage people to do so. But I think what you said there is really important about you recognizing that obviously you have a limited amount of the ethos of what you do is that a lot of it is empowering others to kind of do the work that obviously you can't necessarily directly do. And I think obviously you recognize some of those in those people with the Diana Award, but how would you kind of encourage young people to kind of make an impact in their local community and maybe help with these sorts of issues in whatever way they can?
So we do run that. I think that, so firstly, I would absolutely encourage I have two young people myself in my household. I hate to call, I would love to say my children, but they would probably hate the fact that I use that word. So I've got two young adults myself, and everyone has value, and and this is actually a quote from Princess Diana, everyone has value and everyone has the potential to give back. I'm sure you've heard of that saying that says if you think you're too small to make a difference, go and lie with a mosquito, and you
Yeah.
would know very quickly. It's so easy to expect somebody to do stuff, but actually you can do stuff. You can see a need, and the need can be as huge as this or as little as checking in on your neighbor. And my encouragement to young people is just take any opportunity. When you see a gap, just fill that gap, because it does two things. The truth is you benefit from that action one way or the other. It might be that you're learning how to speak to an elderly person and you're suddenly learning maybe what life was for that generation, and that little knowledge that you gain, you have no idea when that knowledge will come in handy. So my encouragement is always see a need and please just try and do something. Having said that, we also know that sometimes you need that bit of boost, that ability to help, that ability to just step up. And we run so many webinars that help. Some things like how to gain the confidence to even do stuff, how to project plan. We do a lot of those webinars, especially in the either half terms or school holidays, or like in the summer, we're coming up to the summer. We would run loads of those kind of webinars. So I would just encourage people to join in. One of the things that we're running, which I would love to share with you, it's just something we're literally just setting up, is a campaign. Well, it's a project that's called Young and Black. Well, it's called Changemaker, with UK Youth and Centre for Mental Health. And it's a project that's in direct response to what happened last summer with the killing of George Floyd, where a lot of young people, for the first time, really opened up about the racial trauma that they go through, as what it means to them to be young and Black in the UK. And we listened, and I couldn't unhear the things that I heard. And for many days afterwards, I remember sitting with the three of us as chief execs, sitting and saying, we cannot sleep. Like, what we've heard is so traumatic. We need to fix this. And I'm really excited that together we approached a few funders, because one of the biggest thing that came through for us was young people were saying, even if we wanted to access help, people don't even understand. They're not culturally competent enough to understand the trauma that we've gone through. For example, one of the young persons said something like, a teacher once said to her, or her head teacher once said to her, you're Black, you've got to learn to live with racial insults. How do you say that to a 14-year-old? How do you say that to a 14-year-old? And maybe on one hand, you're trying to...
Not a unique experience at all, I can imagine. I'm pretty sure a lot of Black British children have had similar things over the years as well.
Absolutely. So what we're doing, we're running a 3-year project that's really working hand in hand with young people from racialized communities. And every year we will choose a different community, but all communities that are racialized. So this year we're starting off with young Black people who will help us together. We will build their capacity. We will work alongside them to create resources that will be disseminated across society, right from in schools to mental health service providers, to community groups, to MPs, and all of that, to the healthcare center as well, to help understand what does a culturally competent mental health support look like, so that if a young person came into school right now and said, oh, I just got off the bus and someone racially abused me, what we want is for teachers to know what to do straight out. And so for me, that's really a system shifting project, and I'm really excited about it. More info is on our website. I would love for people to we're going to need a lot of young people to be involved in this project, because it's not us doing it, it's young people doing it. We're just there facilitating it. And it's got to be the product, the output has to be created and curated by young people.
Yeah, I think that what you've mentioned in regards to providing resources to schools and to the broader community is so important as well. Because even personally, like from the events that transpired last year with George Floyd, I think a lot of Black people have found themselves in a position to be educating and doing a lot of the work that we, even though we may be a part of the Black community, aren't necessarily equipped to do so. And I think a lot of us have had to kind of help other people understand things that for us we know innately but don't necessarily have the words for or the right vocabulary for. So I think providing resources like that is really important. But also along those lines, I think Diana is a really good embodiment of the idea that while you are making impact and you're trying to do these things, there can be a lot that you're carrying at the same time, with her having been open about the struggles she had, whether it be with her mental health or bulimia, or even her fear of kind of trying to navigate her life with everyone watching her. So how would you kind of speak to how people can navigate and make change and impact effectively, and also also not be overly burdened by doing so? Because I know even with Meghan Markle, the effects of the bullying and the different things she had to face while she was trying to make change within the royal family made her feel at a point even suicidal. So there definitely are there definitely is a darker side and like a heavier side to trying to make impact.
I think, you're right. I think primarily it's about knowing, setting your own boundaries and knowing, life is complex. Life is, you can be, whilst we, and this is something that we recognize with our young people, we recognize that whilst we say a young person is a change maker and has made a huge difference, it doesn't mean that they don't have their own struggles. And one of the things we aim to do is to create the safe spaces for young people to be. Do you know what I mean? And it's, you just also, it's that balance between how do you, and that's something vital that we I don't want to say teach, but it's more about empower young people to recognize that whilst we want you to be a change maker and to go and inspire change and do all this amazing stuff, we also give you the tools to look after yourselves. It's important. We have to have that balance. I think another way is to make sure that you have a team. Everyone needs a support network. And, it might be, we often talk about, at the Dialogue, we talk about your high fives, and it's like giving someone a high five. But that high five is thinking about 5 people in your life that form your tribe, your support bubble, that you can speak to whenever you need help. And recognize your own strengths, set your own boundaries, understand that you're human, and understand that there's nothing wrong in speaking out or asking for help, and do not try to be a superhero. I talk about, especially as a sector leader, there's always demand on my time. And I always say, look, I make no apologies when I have to say no, because I'm human. And whilst I love everything that I do, but I understand that there have other conflicting things to deal with. I'm also a mother, I'm also a wife, I'm also a sister, and I'm also me. And so it's finding the balance. Life is always about balance, and it's important to own your own, to set boundaries, own it. And if you have to ever let anyone down, like, just do it and don't feel guilty. Do not try to be a superhero.
Yeah, I think that is so important. But at the same time, sometimes I worry about saying no. And sometimes, especially as a woman or even a woman of color, like that can come across as if you are unfriendly or unwilling to cooperate. And funny enough, Diana, a clip of her came up on TikTok a couple of weeks ago that in itself speaks to her impact and how things that she is saying are still circulating. But I believe it was from the speech with Martin Bashir, and she spoke to how strong women have to walk a very particular path in life where people continue to question their strength and what they're going to do with their strength, and how that is kind of at the detriment of institutions and the way they kind of want us to behave and to submit to regulations or laws that don't necessarily benefit women. So, as much as we all kind of want to try and empower ourselves to be able to say no and to exercise our strength and put out boundaries, how do you, how can we kind of like reconcile that with gets a bit difficult to work with, or not willing to just do everything that they want and stuff, and the
I
guilt
think,
of that.
I think, this is a whole topic that this is a whole topic that I often share a lot with, particularly with people maybe starting up in their careers,
Yeah,
because the tendency, and it's rightly so, is to show up all the time and be present and do everything. And yes, that's the absolutely right thing to do. But everything has boundaries, everything, and there's a fine line between in balancing out both. And there's a way to say, I was actually chatting to someone not long ago saying, I remember sometimes the guilt when I have to, if for any reason I have to cancel a meeting, and I would almost write an entire essay trying to explain why I'm doing, and
yeah. Is that thing they say about being able to say like no full stop, like it doesn't need
yeah,
to.
yeah. But also it comes with some of it would actually, I said, why I don't have to overly explain if I can't do it. But I think it's just that balance. It's a skill. I suppose for me it's about set your boundaries. Find out what it's again. There's this. I think it's about again the ability to influence. Sometimes you think about influencing as your big political advocacy campaigning style, but influencing is also being able to negotiate, push boundaries around. There has to be a place where you are able to self-govern, and self-govern is the right word, is to say to yourself, can I do this? Do I have the strength? Be sincere with yourself. Because on the other hand, if you cannot, if you've run out of steam for something, or you're really not going to be useful to yourself or to everybody else. You're actually doing
Yeah,
that project or that thing a disservice by showing up when you're not really there.
yeah,
And that's how you have to think about, and you have to think about, who am I trying to help? I'm no good to everyone. I remember even with when my kids were younger, and things like trying to meet parents' evening, and maybe I have a board meeting that I can't even move, and there's a clash, and you're trying to think, how can I make this work? And at some point, sometimes I've had to. It's happened once where I've had to email that particular teacher and said, "Is there any chance I can come at a later date, even though the parents' evening is fixed for this week? I physically cannot get to you at the time you've allocated to my child. Can I come at a different date?" And it's about that again. That's about that ability to negotiate.
yeah,
Sometimes we're hard on ourselves, because when you actually negotiate. People can be flexible. And I
Yeah.
remember when I got the email back from that teacher, and he said, "Yeah, of course, I understand." And I was like, this is something I'd been struggling with for days. And it just took that one email to unlock it. So sometimes it's be honest with yourself and see where the flex is.
Yeah, I think that's probably the resounding kind of theme that's coming out from this interview, is that a lot of making change or being able to contribute is recognizing your own power, and not only using that to help other people, but also using that to make change for yourself and to make sure that you don't burn out in the process. And just to kind of close out, this has been a really insightful conversation. What came to mind is actually a quote from Meghan Markle when she spoke of how young people don't need to be given a voice, they just need to be provided space to say or to use their voice. And I think that your platform and the Diana Award is just a really good embodiment of doing that, and it really speaks to how we should be empowering the next generation to be leaders and really at the forefront of making change in their communities, and understanding that that may come with its challenges, but it's definitely really important work. So yeah, thank you for the interview today. It's really been a pleasure to speak to you. Is there any final words that you'd like to share, or also things to just once again things to check out from the Diana Award, and just a quick brief outro?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been such a pleasure chatting to you, and this is what a great platform that you guys have also provided, just allowing the space for young people to talk and to chat with each other. You know, for us at the Diana Awards, we are 1,000,000% committed to unlocking potential for young people, creating opportunities, and helping build your capacity for change. That's our commitment to you as young people, and we want you to hold us to that. When we fall short, hold us to account. Be kind. Definitely check out our website, check out our Insta handles. I'm on Instagram. I'm just at Tessy Ojo. DM me and let's have a conversation at good hours. Don't DM me at midnight. I don't sleep. No, I'm really joking. But no, it's been lovely talking to you, and I just wish you guys well. Like, I think that quote you just said is an absolute truth. You have the power already, and our commitment, and when I say our society's commitment, should really be helping you take your place,
Yeah.
helping you occupy the spaces that you rightly should be occupying, because there isn't going to be a magic wand in 20 years' time. Suddenly, we expect you to rule the country when we haven't shifted and allowed you space. How is that going to happen?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to end it. Thanks again. And yes, hopefully everyone really enjoyed this conversation.